Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Tekken 7 on the GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. For FPS monitoring, I'll be using CAM. If you want to download this software, there's a link down in the description. And if you want to purchase any of the parts featured in this build and support the channel, there are Amazon affiliate links down in the description too. So Tekken 7, I'll be doing 1080p, 1440p and 4K. To skip any of those sections of the video, check the description below. So first I'll show you 1080p, targeting 60 frames per second, since that's pretty much what this game was made to run at. And so far, with the highest setting possible, I was able to get 60 frames per second pretty much all the time, so no problems there. Then I switched to 1440p, and in order to get 60 frames per second I had to lower the settings to the minimum, except the textures, which I kept on ultra, and I was pretty much at 50 to 60 frames per second, still a playable experience. I didn't do a configuration targeting 30 frames per second, since below 50 frames per second this game is pretty much unplayable. The controls are very unresponsive, so when playing at that frame rate you can notice that this game was designed to run at 60 frames per second. And finally at 4K it was impossible to get 60 frames per second, so I just used the lowest setting except in textures, and the game was at 25 to 32 frames per second. I don't recommend 4K with this game on this card. Maybe if you have the 6-pin version of the GTX 1050 Ti, you can play at medium settings at 1440p, close to 60 frames per second. But in this case I recommend 1080p highest setting, since that's when the game runs the best and looks the best. So I recommend going for that configuration instead. So this game was made using Unreal Engine 4. You notice that on all my videos on Tekken 7 I only used the G4560 to play the game. That was because the CPU usage was very low. It was below 40% pretty much all the time. So if the game drops below 60 frames per second, that's because of the GPU. If you have an i5 or i7, you should have the same experience as I have. And as many fighting games, this game is hard locked at 60 frames per second, so you cannot go above 60. But if you get below 50 frames per second, for example, the controls get very unresponsive, so I recommend trying to target between 50 and 60 frames per second for the best experience. Then in the options menu, the most demanding things that I found so far, the ones that you should lower first, are effects quality and shadow settings. Then you got post-processing quality, that's the third most demanding that I found so far. And apart from that, there is not much that you can change to get better performance. Those three settings are the ones that make the biggest performance difference, the others don't do much. There is another option called dynamic adjustment, that it seems to be a dynamic resolution or just a dynamic settings. Unfortunately this option for me is not working. Let me know if you get it to work in the comment section down below. Then we also have rendering scale, which is just a slider to control the rendering resolution, nothing special about it, but unfortunately once again this option for me is not working. I even put this at 200% on 1080p and I didn't see a performance difference, so this option doesn't seem to be working either. And on the textures, even ultra textures use less than 2GB of VRAM, so maybe if you have a 1GB video card you can run this game if you lower the texture quality, which is good news. Even at 1440p I use 1.5GB of VRAM, and I noticed that some of the edges of this game look very blurry. I looked it up in the Steam forums and people found out a way on how to disable that blur filter. You have to lower your settings on the post-processing quality to medium and the blur filter will be gone, but I'll leave a link down in the description with instructions on how to disable it from a config file, so you don't have to lower the settings. I thought it was the anti-aliasing solution, but it seems to be just a filter that the developers put there. I'm not sure why. And you'll notice that I tested the same stage all the time, a stage called Duomo di Sirio or something like that. I tested all stages and that was the one that performed the worst. It seems to be due to the reflections on the floor, so I selected the trading mode in order to select the same stage all the time, so my testing was consistent. But so far that's the one that runs the worst. On some videos you'll see that I also test a place with a volcano that runs very similar. But overall, those are the worst performing stages I found so far. On other ones, you should have 5 to 6 FPS more overall. But yeah guys, not much else to say. The game runs better than I expected. Remember, Unreal Engine 4, so it will probably favor NVIDIA cards. I'm not sure why that happens each time, but I'm happy to report that the game is running very good. So yeah guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you keep enjoying the video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Otra. shoot, set, counter, set, shoot.